So the optics are good. Hello, brothers and sisters. Little preparation. All right, crazy 2020. We all have been there. And some of us have had anxiety or worries over responsibilities or this changing world. So today's prayer is to help just a tiny bit in that category. We'll do prayer and then we'll do pledge. Please pray with me. Dear Lord, you taught us to plant the seed and you will grow the fruit. Over 100 years ago, a seed was planted that now bears the fruit of fellowship and good deeds through Rotary. As we leave here today, we ask only two things. Help us to plant the good seeds and trust in you to provide the good fruit. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks,
Steve. Okay, we're going to try and talk to Christy. Christy, are you on?
Yeah, President Tom, can you hear me?
I can. Great.
Okay, great.
Christy has a family Rotary time.
Yes, thanks, President Tom. So we've got one birthday this week. Emery Ware has a birthday on November 20th. And Emery is also celebrating his 1-year anniversary with our club on the 19th. But he's been 32 years. I wanted to mention that. In addition, Emery is also celebrating his wedding anniversary with his wife Audrey on November 25th. So lots of reasons to celebrate. Then for member anniversaries, we also have Dinkins Grange celebrating 32 years on November 22nd, and George Armstrong celebrating 35 years on November 26th. And that's it for Rotary Report.
Perfect. Thanks, Christy.
Thank you, President Tom.
So while we're on Zoom, Jen Suramaji, do we have a member spotlight today by any chance? And you can just say no if you're there or not. We're going to say no. So that's good. That's all good because past President Dave Bissell has a craft talk. Yay.
So I understand I have 20 minutes, right?
30.
Because we're going to, I brought some insurance policy forms. I thought I'd pass them out and we just go over insurance with.
You're under 3 minutes.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, a Rotary craft talk. I'm in the spectrum of my career where I'm at the end. So rather than sit here and talk to you about what we do at our agency, which I will tell you, I'm very proud of. This has been a challenging time for all of us. I partnered / sold my business. It was ongoing, as you recall, when I was having my health issue a couple of years ago. In fact, the same week that I got a letter of intent from this company is when I'm sitting across from this stone-faced oncologist. So to their good credit, when things got better for me, they said, where were we? We picked up. I closed this last July and just had my 1-year anniversary where I'm very happy to say our staff rallied in spite of Wuhan and did very well and met numbers for them. So to me, that's my craft talk. It's not insurance for me. It's about putting together a group of people, motivating them, achieving goals. It's the business side of things. And I probably dislike insurance more than you do, to be quite honest with you. So like I say, so it's not about that. It's about the insurance. It's about, it's about the group, the staff, the team, the goal achieving. So I want to end with just one thing. I could credit, as I'm sure all of us can in business, a lot of people that help us along the way, mentors and and confidants and people who inspired us. And I could choose from a dozen different ones. But there was someone that told me something a while back. And being as I'm at my end, I'm going to impart this little nugget to you. He was a retired ordained Episcopal minister. He had a PhD in philosophy. Now, that's somebody you could have a cigar and a bourbon with, I can assure you. He didn't talk micro, he talked macro, everything. But he told me something about myself when I was struggling 25 years ago. Didn't know if this is where I wanted to spend my life. And he said, David, you enjoy people. You enjoy helping people. You know, help people achieve their goals, achieve what they want. And along the way, you'll achieve yours. Didn't really sink in at the time, but I have held on to it forever. So I would impart that to you, most of you here, many of you anyway, younger in me than I am, maybe the middle of your career. Help your client in whatever you do achieve their goals, and along the way, you'll achieve yours. That's been inspiring for me. I hope it is for you. Thank you for your time.
All right. So I don't see Les here. So I'm just going to say that from an oratory update standpoint, West Jacksonville is holding the first regional event on January 20th. Does that sound right, Steve? Yes. Well, no.
Oh, regional, yes.
Yeah, regional. Okay, good.
Sorry.
So no worries. I'm just wanting to make sure I had it right. And of course, you know, we've got changes that are in the mix for social distancing. So we'll keep you updated on that. We want to be sure and support our oratory full force this year, now more than ever. And I want to remind you again to look on DACDB so that you can make sure you RSVP for all important events like these meetings, to make sure that we have enough food for everybody and to make sure we have our all of our numbers right. So, and do I see Emery Ware here? Wonder if Emery, hey, wonder if Emery's on Zoom. Is Emery on Zoom so we can get a Rotaract update maybe?
I saw that Julia was on.
Yeah, well, we'll reschedule that. It's all good. President-elect Richard has a UConn project update for us. Richard.
Thank you. Monday, I took your donations for UCOM and their Thanksgiving food basket effort to UCOM over on St. Augustine Road. And what I discovered was the same thing that I do every time I go to a food pantry, and that is that those people that are putting the food baskets together are so incredibly happy. It's not because they're thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It is because they're making sure that people are happy on holidays. We can do that again with them. We are now collecting for Christmas on December 1st and on December 8th. This was supposed to be an amazing pep talk to get you to bring food on those days or to contribute online through Patty. And so that we have not only goods to give UConn, but also cards. And anyway, I don't have to be motivational because you're already bringing food, and for that I thank you very much. December 1st and December 8th. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. And yeah, so we'll let Casey Martin come up and introduce our visitors and guests. Casey.
Thank you, Tom. I've got two messages. Well, actually, the first, it has to do with the bell ringing that we're doing on December 4th. We have all the shifts covered except the 6 to 8, the last shift. So if anybody's interested, we've got the sign-up sheet up with Patty at the desk. So you can sign up and we'll get that covered. Are there any people visiting Rotarians or people with guests today? Or on the computer? I think not. Okay, well, you guys want to sing?
Yeah. Oh.
No
Well,
run.
no, go.
No,
No, let
don't
me-
run. Don't run. No run.
Sorry, that's all right. No, no, it's good. It's all good.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait for sure. We here in Rotary welcome you today. So glad you came along, glad you came our way. And the fellowship is yours, sunshine or in rain. We here in Rotary say welcome, come again.
Take your time. Sorry. No worries. Glad to have
We
you.
need Bill Langley.
Glad to have
We
you
love
here.
Bill Langley.
Yeah, we do, but you know, you're doing a Ooh, bad. I know. So speaking of online, let's try and pull up Jason Burnett, past president Jason, so he can introduce our speaker. Okay.
Let's see. Give it a try, Jason.
Good afternoon, everyone, and wish I could be there in person. I am so happy that our speaker today is Craig Smith, my very best friend in the world. I wish I could actually see his expression right now so that he knows for a fact I will not share any story that I shouldn't. We've been friends for over 25 years. Craig, and I'm glad I'm speaking to a Rotary Club because everybody's old enough to understand what a beeper is. But we first met when Craig was using my law firm to sell his beeper company. And the attorney that was helping Craig said, you need to meet Jason Burnett. I think you guys will hit it off. And literally from that day forward, we have spoken on average at least once a day for the last 25 years. And that's no joke. We've had some great adventures together. And I think there's only a couple of them that I could actually share in a public setting. But Craig sold the beeper company and then found out he needed something to do. He thought he wanted to buy a limo to ride around in because that's what you do when you're from Callahan and you make some money. And so he buys a limo company, and then that turns into a huge success as Beaches Transportation. He sells that, and he's at loose ends, not knowing what to do. He's hanging out in my law firm, and then of course he finds out that the Alhambra is in a little bit of distress, and he thinks that he can bring the owner at the time. This is the fellow that had bought it from our very own Ted Johnson. He could bring this fellow in and get some bankruptcy advice and help the Alhambra. And after about a 3-hour meeting with Craig and the owner, my advice was, Craig, if you want to save the Alhambra, you better buy it. And much to my surprise, that's exactly what happened. And it has just been an amazing success. I, of course, was very worried and with COVID, with what that would do to the Alhambra. And Craig is going to have an amazing story today and tell us about a few things going on related to the Alhambra. But if he runs out of things to talk about, he and I could always bring up the duck hunting trip that we went on to Uruguay, where they lost our luggage, and we quickly realized that people in Uruguay really don't come in our sizes, and it's very difficult to shoot ducks when you're wearing a button-down shirt and it's 55 degrees and the gun's shaking, you're so cold. So we could either tell that story or one of my other favorite stories, which is really a credit to, if I can brag on myself and Craig, that when we went to Venice, Italy with my wife and his girlfriend, and we are literally at the taxi at the airport, getting onto a water taxi. We've been in Venice for 5 minutes, and his girlfriend falls into the canal. And neither Craig nor I laughed for 24 hours about that incident until we were alone together. But that, again, we're kind of getting into a territory of what we can't talk much about. But I am so happy that Craig would come in today and share with us what's going on in the Alhambra. And I'm sorry I'm not there in person with everybody. I miss you all. But everybody, Craig Smith.
I will not lie, he had me nervous for a moment or two with the second story. He is my best friend in the world. This is new. Y'all have not always been called the Treaty Oak Club, right? Always, forever? I've never seen that look. I've been here. Yeah. But like way back, I used to come with Doug, you know, the astronaut, Dr. Doug. And, but a guy named Steve Malkoff, who was a cornerback for Auburn. We won't hold that against him, us Alabama boys. But he was a cornerback for Auburn. He's an artist. And he's done a Treaty Oak pencil sketch. Heck, I think he sketched, the Audubon Society hired him to pencil sketch a tree from every state in the Union. And if I actually own one of the Treaty Oak, if you ever get a chance to see one or get one, I'd highly recommend it. They're beautiful pieces, and he's a wonderful guy, again, although an Auburn boy. Thank y'all for having me back again. Of course, you know, you all have been so helpful and beneficial to the theater over the years, and we've had some joint things where we've raised some money for you all, and that's been fun. And I always love, again, I mentioned Dr. Doug. I used to love to come to y'all's club, you know, back in the old days at the hotel, because y'all's club always sang. So I was appreciative that you, I think you and Downtown were the only two clubs that ever sang. And if you heard our group at Ponte Vedra, we don't need to sing. It was it would never be a good thing. But I appreciate y'all having me back. We were headed into 2020 was almost to be the biggest year ever at the Alhambra Theater. We had pieced together 9 of the best shows that we have to ask permission to do these shows. And so we had pieced together the 9 premiere shows, and boy, they were selling like hotcakes, and we were off to the races. Would have been our biggest year ever. And of course, we all ran smack dab into China in March, and the whole world changed. And of course, this is for those of you, kind of a fun note. On March 6th, I'd been working on a year to buy out. I had a minority partner, a 30% partner. And so for a year, I'd been working on getting him bought out. And so the last few weeks, you know, you're really focused in and trying to get the deal done. And you really wasn't paying attention to the news or to anything else, just trying to get done. So March 6th, we finally got done, and I bought him out and wrote him a big check and all that. Somewhere around March 9th was the first time I heard the word coronavirus. Yeah, that was, talking about timing, not so good. Not so good. Because we were on pace for our biggest year ever. Did I mention that? Yeah, so of course, you know, the valuation was based on that. But anyway, we hit, like all of us, we ran head on into COVID-19. And we were shut down, and you know, I've got 91 folks that work for me, and most of them are single moms with kids, young folks, but I've got 10 that's been at the theater 40 years, head of household, dads with wife and kids, and we said, what in the world are we going to do? You know, we can't let everybody go hungry. And of course, everybody said, oh, you get unemployment or this or that. So we came up with the idea to do takeout meals to get us through. And so people, we'd sell 3 or 4 different options, and people would come. And so every week we'd keep, 10 or 12 working, and then we'd rotate, and so takeout meals turned out to be a big success. I think Easter we did 690 meals takeout, and Mother's Day we did a little bit less than that, maybe 510 or something like that. But it turned out to be a big success and kept us going. One of the biggest challenges was that we had sold so many tickets for the shows coming up that my fear was people were going to call and say, hey, give us our money back. And that was a great idea, except I had paid 91 staff people through March, April, and May. And so we did have a few folks call, and I said, hey, how about come get some dinner? I got your money and I got food. Why don't you come get dinner? And that worked most of the time. We had some, that called in a mess themselves. Had lost their job, they had to pull their, take care of their dad and what have you. And so we obviously every decision and every case was, we based on your situation and what was going on. So when we were able to reopen in June at 50% capacity, good news, bad news, we had already sold everything at 60 and 70% because we were on pace for our biggest year ever. And so you say, okay, now what are you going to do? You've sold more tickets than you got seats. So we started shuffling people around and calling people and saying, hey, what if? And you wouldn't believe how cooperative and how kind and how we had people during the shutdown. We'd get checks in the mail for $20, $100, $300, $50. People just said, hey, we just wanted to send something to help. And it was amazing to me. I mean, you know, I couldn't believe it, right? And we didn't get tens of thousands of dollars, but we certainly got probably $10,000. And again, it helped because we were taking care of those kids, you know, taking care of the folks that work for us. And so when we reopen, is you call people and say, hey, I know you normally sit where you sit, right? Vicki Lynn always has a couple of seats that she likes, but now all of a sudden you're sitting over there in the back row where you've never sat. And 99% of folks were just so cooperative and happy to be there and happy that we were reopened. And so we've been doing that since June, you know, being at 50%, even though now the governor says you can be 100%, we've stayed at 50%, just, you know, in abundance of caution and just want to make sure, as I tell everybody, I'm way too cute to get sick. The last thing, I don't want anybody to get sick, but I damn sure don't want to get sick. And so we've done everything we can to keep it safe and to keep going. There'd been a lot of talk about streaming our shows. You know, we'd have people that would call and say, hey, we'll pay if we can just watch it on the internet. And so, of course, we reach out to the right holders of the shows and the people that we work with. And everybody was, to put it mildly, horses behinds. And you just couldn't, you know, you say, hey, what if? Well, after months of, you know, these big unions with none of their employees working, i.e. none of their employees paying dues, they finally kind of get their head out of the ground and start trying to come up with what could you do. And so you had two big unions, the Actors Equity Union, which our shows came from, and the SAG Union, you know, Screen Actors Guild, that we all know, the big famous names from the SAG group. And it's okay, well, if we stream these shows, who's going to have priority? Who's going to be the boss, right? Judge. Everybody want to sue and get crazy. And what you found out kind of through this thing is that the Actors Equity folks, our side, you know, the theater side, they were spending money like drunken sailors. And in the middle of the pandemic, gave 30 and 40% raises to their senior staff where they're having no income in. And SAG saying, hey, it's through television, it's over the internet, we're in charge. And Actors Equity saying, no, we're in charge. It turns into a big fuss and a big fight, of which they're still fussing and fighting. And it's kind of the belief in the industry that the Actors Equity, 50,000 member, long-serving Broadway union might not survive, particularly if this thing drags out through 2021, which now we all hope that it's not. We hope we see light at the end of the tunnel. But it's really turned into quite the struggle between these two unions that, in my humble opinion, really could give a flip about their membership. When we reopened in June, we went to the union and said, okay, we're going to open, this is what we're going to do. And they said, what do you want us to do in terms of protocol for union members? Now remember, there's 91 people that work there. At any one time, 10 to 12 of them are union members, okay, for the show. What do you want us to do? Well, we don't really have any protocol. Just tell us what you're going to do and then we'll approve it. So we sent them our protocol and they said, no, we're not going to approve that. Okay, well, what do you want us to do? We don't have one yet. This is in June now. Pandemic started in March. So we said, all right, well, we're going to open with or without you. And several other theaters did as well. We're now in November. And do you know how many productions that they've allowed from March till now? 2. One was outside, a 3-member cast, and the second was a one-person show also outside. And so in the meantime, their membership is struggling. Obviously, you can't perform on Broadway. I get that, you know. But you can do like we do, spread everybody out 6 feet and, you know, mask everybody up and do the thing. But their membership's just dying. We get emails or phone calls weekly, you know, from folks that have done shows with us and say, hey, can we come? And you know, of course, the answer is if you don't want to, you got to do what you got to do, right? But there's, in our business, there's tons of folks that are non-union that want to be actors that just have never joined that union. And so that's what we've been doing since June. And to be honest, I don't think we could have survived doing it any other way. You know, at the time I was aggravated with them for not allowing these folks to get back to work, but it turned out to be a blessing for us and one that was allowed us to survive. So you fast forward, we rolled out next season, 2021. And I was able to do some stuff that I've always wanted to do. And when you're only when you only got to sell 50% of the tickets, you feel pretty brazen, you know. I can sell anything. I can sell any show 50%. So I picked Tennessee Williams' The Glass Menagerie. I saw The Glass Menagerie when I was like in 10th grade, and I always wanted to do a drama at the Alhambra. So we're going to give it a try, and it's selling. The good news is I only got to sell 50%, and we're halfway home, better than halfway home. So we wrote out next season and said, you know what? If folks support us, we'll survive. And if they don't, we won't. It's only been there 53 years. And guess what? They supported us in droves. People has not even showed up. Vicki Lynn's got a ticket. I hadn't seen her all year, right? Of course, she's had tickets every year since I owned the place. But people have really supported us in our season ticket renewal program. We're definitely off, but you're going to be off, you know? But to say I've been surprised and amazed and just tickled pink with how folks have risen up to support us and help us, it's been amazing. We do a big Black Friday sale every year. Obviously be next week or week after next. And you'd be amazed at how successful that program is for us. And we certainly needed to come through this year because that makes the difference in the year. So, but we've been hanging in there. We keep going and folks keep coming. Oddly enough, and I'm not saying this tongue in cheek, I'm saying it sincerely. We've celebrated more 90 to 95th birthdays from June till now than we have in 3 years. There's something about being in your 90s. Screw it. We getting out and doing what we want to do. We had a guy show up in April when we were doing takeout meals, and they're two best friends. And y'all know the one tall, he's been an architect. He's 93. He's worked his architect firm for 71 years, still goes to work. And his best friend, who just turned 90 in April, showed up at the theater. And I said, and I happened to be standing there, you know, during the takeout meals. And I said, Mr. John, and he let his girl out at the front door. And I said, Mr. John, what you doing? He said, my 90th birthday. We're here to celebrate. I said, you know, Mr. John, we've been closed since March. And he says, you are? I said, yeah. And he drives, by the way, at 90, still drives. And his friend at 93 still drives. And I said, yeah, we've been closed since March. And he said, well, it's my 90th birthday. I said, well, park the car and come on in. So on the 90th birthday, we had a big dinner for him in the library at the theater. Those of you, which almost all of you have been, right there in the library, we set a table for him and we celebrated. And so then they came back. I think we've re-celebrated his 90th birthday at least 3 times since we've reopened. And it's been a lot of fun. But, you know, that's the beauty about the Alhambra. We tell people all the time, we create experiences and memories that we'll all remember. And 99.99% of them were really fond and really good and really special. And then once in a blue moon, we may screw something up. But anyway, I just appreciate y'all having me. I had some more to say, but when somebody told me to come here, I got up and walked out and left my notes. So, and I got on to Jason. I said, I didn't know I could go in person. You told me I had to do it on this thing. Jason does everything on TV now, by the way. And I'll leave that at that, Mr. Burnett. But yes, sir. So when you book a show, they show up with their own set. See you, Judge.
Do they show up with everything?
No, so, you know, it's a great.
Can you rephrase the question, because they're not picking up?
Okay, so the question was, when we stage a show, does it show up? So we're actually a producer. So you're either a buyer of show or a producer of show. So what comes downtown comes in a truck with 20 kids or 40 kids or 60, and they unload it, set it up, and go. We actually, when I pick like next season, we get together and decide what the costumes are going to look like and what the set's going to look like. And we decide, so in addition to the theater in Bay Meadows, we have a 6,000 square foot scene shop where they build all that stuff. And we have a costume shop just right down the street on Beach Boulevard. It's another 3,000 square feet where they cut the costumes and build the costumes. And you know, a lot of times we'll buy things if it's too extravagant, or rent things and that kind of thing. But no, sir, we actually produce everything that you see on stage. We produce it ourselves.
Local folks sometimes.
So again, our union, you know, what a lot of people don't realize is that we're like AAA baseball. You want to be with us in order to make it to the big leagues. The difference in AAA baseball is you're going to get kicked out you age out at some point, right? They said there's no chance. But with us, if you don't make it to Broadway, you can stay with us forever. And I say us, you know, at one point there were hundreds of equity dinner theaters across the country like ours. Today, well, right now there's zero because equity doesn't allow it. But prior to Corona, you know, there might've been a dozen, maybe 12, 13, 14, something like that. And some of them would come or go. You know, they'd figure out a way to stay open for another month, and they'd close. And you know, the theater business is not the most lucrative business in the world, most fun business in the world, but not the most lucrative. We've been very fortunate with it.
Since you're only having to fill half the house, when are you going to be able to get Jason into a role?
So, you know, Jason has, he's actually performed several times. But I've given him the microphone. I think one night I gave him the microphone when y'all were there. And he loves a microphone because, you know, he's a good attorney. He's got a lot to say. Yeah, I'd like to put him in a show.
Jason actually has a question for you.
Counselor?
Jason, why don't you unmute there, Jason?
While you're unmuting, I like this camera because I don't look quite so fat.
I didn't want to bring that up because this camera definitely makes me look fat. But Greg, not to tell you how to run your business, but maybe you want to mention the upcoming shows.
Oh, thank you, Counselor. Thank you. So, you know, when we shut down, we had to move a couple of shows to next year. Singing in the Rain, Music Man. Yeah, Music Man's a great, great, great show. But next Halloween, we're doing Young Frankenstein. Mel Brooks. So we're excited about that one. We're going to have, Vicky will love this. It's going to be a costume feature. Vicky and her parents, they used to always dress up for all that staff loved to see them walk through the door because you never knew what they were going to come in looking like. They were always going to look like $1 million. But next year we're doing Young Frankenstein, Singing in the Rain. We're actually going to have we were in a meeting this morning designing how the thing was going to rain and not get the audience sick. I mean, not get the audience wet. And I called it the splash zone, like at, you know, SeaWorld. We're going to have you pay extra to sit in the splash zone. And nobody thought that would actually work, but the extra part anyway. Yes, sir.
Any experience at all?
Zero.
Can you just repeat that?
The question was, did I have any experience? So I grew up going there I grew up on the West Side. Okay. I didn't know what Broadway was. Heck, I didn't know where New York City was. You grew up on the West Side, and I mean real West Side, like Normandy Boulevard West Side. And so when it closed, the Todd Booth, the owner, his son called me looking for a job. And I said, why do you need a job? You worked for your dad for 20 years. And he didn't really want to say, but he said, we're going to close down. And I said, close down? Through that meeting, I found out a dear friend of so many of ours, Harry Frisch, had loaned him some money. And I called Harry at the time. Harry was 87. He's 97 now. So yeah, he was 87, about to be 87. No, he just turned 87 in July. This is in August. And I said, Harry, how did you get on the hook for 500 G's? And he says, Greg, when you get old, you get stupid. He says, anything you do to help me get my 5 back, I'm in. Anything. So fast forward, and I talked to him, every day for the next few days. So that was on Thursday night. Wednesday night, I found out they were closing. So we met Jason on Friday, and again, I wanted to help him figure out how to stay going. But my thought was march up and down with the street, save the Alhambra, get all my friends to buy tickets, maybe loan them a little money. Never in my wildest dream was I going to buy a 42-year-old dinner theater. And at the end of that meeting, Jason looked me straight in the eye and said, unless you buy it, it's done. And I'm like, really, counselor? That's your best idea? Again, thinking he's being a smart butt, but he was not. And so I kind of looked around the room at everybody for a good 2-3 minutes and said, all right, that's what we'll do. And that's what we did. And I got out and went down and called Harry at his office. And I said, hey, when you said you'd do anything to get your money back? Yes, Craig. I said, it's a good thing you said it, because we just bought a 42-year-old theater. And 87-year-old Chris says, oh my God. And we had him paid back in 2 years. And the best part of the story is that was when Mr. Fant and them when First Guarantee was not doing very well, and we thought we'd get a discount on the mortgage, and that didn't work out. And so then I had to explain to Harry, or actually I let Lathan and Jeff Gavaz, and Edwards, his right-hand people, I let them explain to him that, hey, we did agree to this, and now you got to write another $2 million check for the real estate. So to get you 5, you got to spend 2. But in 2 years, we had him paid back, and all of it was good, and it worked out great for everybody. And it worked out, the best, it worked out for the people. We have 130 to 50,000 people come a year, and people just love it. Very rare do I get anybody that says anything less than how much they appreciate it and enjoy it. And even right now, every night of the week, people say, thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us a place. Because a lot of older folk, we cater to an older audience. During the summer, when we do the family show, we get, a younger audience. We get little kids, right? But even then, grandma and grandpa's bringing them. And just about every day, I'll get an email or 3 or 4 people will stop me in the hallway and just say, thanks for providing a place for us to go, because we don't feel safe anyplace else, but we feel safe here. And we got everybody masked up and gloved up. And every time they touch your table, before they touch your table, they pull gloves off and put new gloves on it. They don't refill stuff. They bring you a fresh glass, fresh, clean. So, we're doing everything. Again, it's all going to work the way it's supposed to, but we're doing everything we can humanly possible to do to keep everybody safe. And folks, I tell you what, it's funny. People are, and of course, obviously, we've all seen the last 6 months and how crazy everything's gotten, but people are funny about masks. I mean, some people just absolutely will spit at you if you say a word to them about a mask. I mean, they don't mind that I move their seat way over there, but by golly, don't tell them to put a mask on or cover their mouth up or this or that. It's really such a crazy thing how everybody has a different opinion about it. And again, I go back to number 1, I'm just too cute to get sick. So anyway, yes. We did. So when we first started, I went to, listen, I've told this story before, and I think I told y'all.
Jason asked that you repeat the question. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Matt Medore, helped us in the beginning, as you know. So we go the first day. So that Friday when we decided to buy it, the theater was still open for another 10 days. So I called Matt Medore on that Sunday, and I said, hey, I got something I want to talk to you. Matt's one of my best friends. I said, I got something I want to talk to you about. Will you meet me at the Alhambra? And so he shows up in flip-flops and shorts and a T-shirt, and I give him a tour, and there's a show going on, but we walk back in the kitchen, they're in there cooking and cleaning and what have you. And so we get back to the front door, and I said, hey, I need your help with this thing. He says, all right, where's the kerosene and torches? I said, that's not what I had in mind. But for the first year and a half, we cooked everything in San Marco at Takeout Gourmet. Remember his little, now it's Rue, but back then it was a little takeout to go place. We cooked everything here and trucked it to the theater every day, 6 days a week. 8 performances a week. And without him, we wouldn't be there. And the other one I want to point out, just because we lost her, Leanza Cornett, you know, our Miss America here from Jacksonville. I didn't know Leanza from Adam's House Cat, but when we decided that I was going to do this and then we were going to make it work, we did a Alhambra homecoming, November 7th of 09. And I called Leanza, and again, I didn't know her from Adam's House Cat. Said, "Hey, I'm Craig Smith." She said, "Oh yeah, I've heard, you know, somebody sent me an article." And I said, "You know, we're going to try to save this thing." And I said, "You know, you're a pretty big star." And at the time she was on that Entertainment Tonight, she was the host or whatever. And so was her husband. And I kind of laid it all out. And before I said a word, like, "Hey, can I pay you to come?" She says, "When do I need to be there? How long do you need me for?" Never paid all of her own expenses, flew here from California. And when she passed, we were going through old stuff. And every day that week, she was making an appearance somewhere and go with me to interviews. And again, just wouldn't take a penny from us. You know, I got this, and did everything she could to help. There were so many people like that. You know, it's just so many people stepped up 10 years ago or 11 years ago now. And without whom we wouldn't be here. And without whom we wouldn't be making a lot of memories over the last 10 or 11 years. So it's been the most fun thing I've ever done. I don't mind telling you. But it's sad you walk through that building and realize that 11 years ago, this one was here, that one was here. And now they're not, you know, maybe their husband's still here. Maybe they're just the wife's here. Most instances it is the wife, but it's a fun place to be. It's a fun thing to do. Any other questions? Well, thank y'all so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, Craig.
Thank
As
you.
a thank you, we'd like to make a contribution in your honor to the Rotary Foundation to End Polio. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
So Les is on?
Les is on.
Hey, Les, you got like 2 minutes. Nice to see you.
I don't know that he's expected to speak, but he's on.
Oh, well, we'll catch up with you next time, Les. No need. Thought you were prompting me for something we really needed to move into. All right. Well, I want to remind you again to RSVP for every meeting to make sure we get the food and everything right. And for any other event we have, it's very important on DAC TV. And next week, we're off for Thanksgiving, so no need to show up here or on Zoom. It's our Thanksgiving holiday. We'll meet again on December 1st. We plan to meet here. Our speaker will be Jack Sears. We'll have Zoom, of course, too. So it's the same format, December 1st. And I want to remind the board that there is a meeting tomorrow via Zoom at 5 o'clock. And that's it. So as we close and join me in the Rotary motto, service above self, one profits most, who serves best. See you next time. Thanks, Mike.